So what is Bam Bam? Bam Bam is this way of running that I call it Bam Bam because in the Flintstones, Bam Bam was always, slamming stuff. Bam, 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 bam. With his club or whatever. Unless he grabs somebody, bam, bam, bam.
Hey, let go of my finger!
I see some kids and the way that they run, it's like they're pounding the ground, right? I'll show you timing-wise what I mean. But basically, Bam Bam is this way of running where everything is like pounding into the ground. Like bam, 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 bam. And of course, it's an error, but it's an error in timing more than anything else. And that's basically Max's remaining error that I see right now, because I see core stability and I see stability in his technique over the hurdles. So we have all those things in place, but I also see a stability in his timing that's off, right? And I think if we get that timing corrected, then everything else that we probably both see about, his takeoff and his landing and running between the hurdles, I think that'll clean itself up because I think what we're seeing is an effect of the timing being a little bit off, right? This bam bam kind of way of running. So, of course, bear with me, I know you know all this, but in terms of rhythm and running, I look at it like, at a certain beat, certain body parts are in a certain place, right? And so if I take, I'm gonna give myself a metronome, turn that up a little bit. And if I'm running, so my feet are here, and what we would normally want is that our hands are at this place, right? When my foot lands, my hand is up, right? So that's what we want. So Bam Bam runners don't do that. Bam Bam runners, so the feet are on beat and then the hands are on beat, but down here, bam, 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 bam. So instead of going this, 3, 4, bop, 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 they're going bop, 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 right? And that's basically how Max runs, right? I think maybe before, with everything else not being stable and a whole bunch of stuff moving around, maybe that's kind of what he got out of time, or that was the best time he could find. I don't know. But right now, everything else is kind of in place. And so I can clearly see this timing thing going on now, right? And so basically what we need to do is to get him to time up his hands and have them in space in the right place when his foot lands flat, in the middle of stance. So rather than being here, and you'll see, I'll show you a video where, he runs and then it's always this advancing hand is like here, 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 rather than here, here. And what that does is everything is driving down, so that's part of what is constantly pushing him down in a way. And then he runs through it and then tries to get up out of it going into the hurdle. And then that's also, in terms of going over the hurdle, once you're doing that, then running between the hurdles and getting off the hurdle, everything is constantly doing this, except that when you want to go take off at the hurdle, you want everything doing this, but your rhythm is already doing this. So it's like you're fighting against the natural the natural wave and airflow that you've kind of set your body up in, right? And so I would go, one thing that we could do is just, have him hold something. And again, one of the things is that we, as we're sprinting, that we want that elbow to at least advance somewhat in front of the body, right? We don't just want it like swinging back here, which a lot of people that doggy paddle, they kind of do that. Everything is kind of like this, and then it just does this. And that's not what we really want, because we need that elbow to go forward so that we can get that torsion going, right? You know all this. You guys taught it to me. But anyway, so what Max needs to get comfortable with is doing this, right? So again, if I'm using my little metronome, then I'm here. Because right now what he's doing is right, so you can see the difference. So that's the difference. So I personally don't think that it's something that would be really, really hard for him to correct. He has rhythm. He can hear beats. It's just a matter of getting a feel for on the beat. The beat is when my foot lands flat. I want my hands up here. I don't want the beat happening down here. I want the beat happening up here, right? Because that's lifting me up. And so that'll give us that lift that we want out of him. It should make him taller, and it should make the takeoff step, more fluid and less of something that, basically, if you're looking at him going over the hurdle, let's take a hurdle. So when he's coming off the hurdle, let's say we're here, we went into the hurdle, we'll just talk about coming off for right now. And he's coming off, and there's the beat, so that this hand is always here, so boom. And then it goes, bam. That's what he's doing coming off the hurdle. So it goes, come through, and bam. Bam, right? And what we want is, come through, up, right? We got to get that arm advancing back up. Now, it's not going to get all the way up here, but we need it shorter. We don't need it driving down like it's doing right now. And most guys, Aries and damn near anybody else that I look at that's running fast, it's back here, and then they shorten it to try to get it back to the front as much as possible. And in doing so, that's giving, that stiffness on that step, rather than doing that, which is causing this on that step. And so then the middle step, because I did this, and now I'm doing this, then it goes bam, bam. So now we're here again, right? As opposed to 1, 2, right? And going through that step. So, it's not super complicated, but, I think you could, come up with some fun ways and creative ways to just, use music out, use some music, use a metronome. You could even hold this, and have him, do, high knees in front of you, where he has to time everything out, bam, 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 so you could kind of hold something like this, or have him just run and do it himself, right? Instead of this, because that's kind of what's going on now. Boom, 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 boom. So everything is kind of out of whack, right? Once that's corrected, then he's gonna be more going into his takeoff, because right now everything is still trying to do this at takeoff, because he went here on the landing, coming off the hurdle, we went bam, and then in the middle, bam, and he knows he needs to come up, but his body's going bam again, right, into the takeoff, bam. And what we want is, of course, coming through here, up, up, up. And so now he's already in the position to go ahead and go through that step, right? Because he's doing it. I'm looking at it, and now he really is doing more of what I think he should be doing in terms of what's going on in his pelvic region and his push and his posture and everything. It's there, but it's that timing thing that's still kind of making everything be out of whack. And even though it's out of whack, he's still doing what I would want him to do. It's just off a little bit. You know, the timing of it is off. And so once that timing gets, you know, right where it needs to be, then everything is going to cycle through a lot quicker. And then when he comes off, he'll be, you know, into the running with less of a run and run and run and run and run and run, but rather run, bum, bum, right? Which is what we want. So that's why we got to kill that motherfucking Bam Bam, right? Get your Glock and go kill him, you know? Kill him dead. Kill him 2 or 3 times. I was watching Denzel Washington in The Equalizer 2, and he said to these guys, he was like, you know, I'm going to kill every one of you, and my only regret is that I can only do it once, right? So kill Bam Bam. Let's kill him one time, right, and get it over with. And I think we'll all see that everything will kind of like come together a lot better. Because a lot of stuff right now is definitely way better than it ever was before. We have stability in a lot of different areas. And so now we just need to fix this thing and have it become stable. And then I think we'll be good to go. Okay, so this is what I mean about Bam Bam when he's hurdling. So as he's going through the hurdle, right? So in terms of the beat, when his foot lands, boom, that's the beat, boom. So if we look at his left hand, boom, then this is kind of what, well, not kind of, this is exactly what we want. Boom, the hand is up when the foot lands. The beat, beat, beat. And this is kind of what we want every step doing, right? But then watch what happens as he comes out of this. It goes bam, bam, bam. That's what I mean. Bam. See how everything goes down? So it's working up right now, up, and then bam, bam. Look at the arm that's coming forward, the right arm. It goes down. So now he's totally flat on the ground, and his arm is still behind him, which is bad enough, but it's working down, even as the other arm is working down. Bam, bam, bam. Rather than it working up like this guy was doing, right? Boom, which is what I want anyway. So then what that does is it kind of drives him into the ground, and the timing is all thrown off now, so that the next step becomes bam. See how everything is unwinding down, and bam. You know, I'm sorry we can't really see it better, but he was running off the screen. But it's always like that. Bam, bam. Rather than that arm, that right arm working forward and up and being, so now he's on the ground now. And, you know, I can still see his elbow over there. You know, it's kind of hard to see. But, so right there you can see everything goes bam, bam, and bam, right? And that's not what we want. We want everything working up, right? So once that happens, then the takeoff will be more intuitive. So this one is the first hurdle, and you can already see as he's approaching the hurdle, you know, his running up is bam. So his foot is flat on the ground, and both arms are down at his side, what I call gorilla arms. He's heard me say that a lot. You know, when you're running up to the hurdle, you don't want to have gorilla arms. But I think a better way of me explaining it, or you explaining it to him now, is just in terms of, you know, where we want our limbs in space at a given time. And, you know, the landing of the foot, you know, at stance, that's the beat, that's the downbeat. And we don't want the hand pushing down or whatever. We want that hand being up. So where his hand is more like here or maybe here. See, that's how much longer it takes for it to get there. Right here,
it should be more here, right? I mean, if you're in a regular sprint, right? But it's delayed, and so that's where a lot of the slack is coming from in his running, and where why he doesn't end up being as tall as he could be. And then going into the hurdle, so we can say this is bam, bam, and then going into the hurdle, bam. So the same thing is kind of unwinding, except now he knows he needs to go up. So that kind of is what throws this whole takeoff kind of into that position at this point, because he's not collapsing in terms of his stability. That's not what's happening now. He's going through this step, but the timing is off. So right here, by the time he gets here, he would have been there a lot sooner and be running off the hurdle a lot quicker, because everything would have unwound, just what is that time? So between here, let's see. So between there and there, so that's 0.66. So kind of like that's sort of like the playroom in his timing that's kind of off for me. Maybe a little bit less, maybe not quite that much, but that's where the offness is, because again, if he was more here with his upper body hands, when his foot landed flat on the ground, then he would be taller. And then what's left, before he's off the ground, is what we would say, his ground contact. He's off the ground a lot quicker. Well, if you're on the ground and you got to go through this whole process almost like a half of a beat, then of course you're going to be on the ground longer. So to me, that's what's going on. So that's what the bam bam is in terms of running between the hurdle. Clearly you can see it here. You can't miss it. It's like, and bam, 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 right? And again, most guys, when they're here, I'll say most good guys anyway, this arm is kind of, more like that, or trying to be anyway, by the time the foot lands totally flat. It's definitely not way back here behind you, causing everything to be thrown off, okay? And again, if the hand is up here, then it finishes its cycle a lot quicker. And, so by the time you get, here, then everything is kind of like ready to unwind, But right now, by the time his hand gets kind of where I would want it to be when his foot lands flat, all that's happened. So that's just like a delay in timing, right? To me anyway. So, let's see if we can clean that up and see if everything kind of finds its, place and, times out, better.